Hi, so this is Claire from We County Yarns, and I am going to talk a little bit about floats in Fair Isle knitting, in stranded colour work, probably more precisely. So this is the penny hat, the pattern that we have in the Kinross. Now the float is the unworked yarn, so where you've got two different colours that you're working with in the round, you'll take, say here you've got 3 stitches of the yellow, 1 of the turquoise. While you're knitting 3 stitches with the yellow, the turquoise is just lying across the back unworked, and that is your float. So if we look on the back, you'll see here we've got a little strand of turquoise sitting there. Now when you've got a Fair Isle pattern like this, and most traditional Fair Isle designs won't use too many stitches of the same colour in a row, so you don't really need to worry about them. Keep them loose. Don't work them too tightly, but you can just leave them sitting there. Now, if you go for a different design, so this is our Edinburgh skyline, and obviously here you're doing fine, you've got lots of different colour changes, and your floats are only 1 or 2 stitches long. However, over here, over our bridge over Waverley Station, you've got a great big long stretch of white. You've got a long stretch of sky. That's why I put some clouds in, try and break it up a bit. What you don't want is a big long stretch of pink at the back. So what we've done instead is I've caught the floats. So I'm going to show you how you do that with this, which is our Ceilidh hat. This is another Kinross design that I'm doing in navy and Lochleven. So this is a hat with musical notation around it, done in 4/4 time, as you can see. And on the main staves, it's not too much of a problem. You've got 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. How many stitches do you need to go before you have to catch your floats? Well, that will depend on what you're using it for. If it's gloves and you're putting your fingers in, then you'll probably want shorter floats than if it's, say, a cowl. But generally speaking, I say 5. 4 stitches is fine. Once I get to 5, I catch it in the middle. Some people say 7, some people say 3. Thinner yarn, you might catch it more often. It just depends, but I say 5. Once you go over 5, you need to catch it. So at the bottom, and the same as at the top where I am at the moment, you've got big long stretches between the notes. So you've got a long gap here with no navy, and you don't want a long strand of navy sitting at the back. So we're going to catch the float. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm working on this line of the pattern here. So I'm going to go 4 stitches of background, 2 of foreground, and then a great big long stretch before I need the foreground colour again. So I'll put the foreground colour around my left hand, which is just how I prefer to do it. And I've done 1 stitch already, so I'll do another 3 in the foreground, in the background colour, the Lochleven, and then I'm going to have 2 stitches of the navy, and then I'm not going to need the navy again for ages. So what I'm going to do, 3 stitches, and then I'm going to catch it. And how I do that, go into the stitch as normal, and then I put the navy, the float colour, around the needle like that. So I'm just going behind it and around, so it's just sitting there. And then I take my stitch. I'll then drop it back to where it was before and take the next stitch. And what that's done is it's just caught that float. So here it was sitting, I'll show that, sitting there since I last used it, and then it's just caught in amongst the working yarn. So I'll do that again. So do another 3 stitches. And then we go into the stitch, just have it sitting there around the needle. Take the stitch normally, let it drop back down, and it's sitting there. So it's dead easy to do, especially if you use the yarn in your left hand and the yarn in your right hand. It's a bit more tricky if you want to catch this one with this colour, but perfectly possible. If you're doing that, you would bring the yarn round like that, take your stitch, and then come back. It's just the other way to do it. I like using this technique for catching, weaving in ends as I go as well. So if you do it on every row, so up, down, and do it again, then you can actually just weave that end in. Now it does leave a bit of the yarn poking through. It's not, there's another ladder back jacquard technique, quite time consuming, but it gives a perfect finish. It won't give you a perfect finish, but I think it's good enough. What I try and do, if you've got a stretch like in the skyline, you've got a big long stretch, try not to stack your floats on top of each other, otherwise you'll find, like here I probably did it a bit too much, you'll probably find that you get a little streak of the colour. So you can see here I've done more of a zigzag when I've caught the floats, and it looks almost like wispy cloud, so that's alright. But there we go, so that's catching floats in Fair Isle.